here with me this morning going through the papers. So welcome back to both of you. As we've been saying in previous hours, the events in the White House last night has really dominated the papers. Stefan, take us to the Mirror's front page. I mean, this is very typical of a lot of the front pages. A picture of Donald Trump gesticulating and Zelensky responding, and their headline is "Shocked War."
That's right, and they've gone with the most emotive picture, which shows Trump's pure fury here, and it's such an emotive shot between the two leaders, and it really shows Zelensky very much in a defensive pose, being really exasperated. And it's at the I think it was at the moment of the highest tension of the press conference.
Because it started relatively calmly, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, for the first half an hour, it was like a little bit tetchy, but it was sort of fine. And Trump started off saying some nice words, and it came after days of him somewhat walking back the comments around when he called Zelensky a dictator. Things were looking better, and while Trump did take a pop at Zelensky over his, refusal to wear a suit, which is something Zelensky does to remind everyone he's in wartime. He did make fun of that at the start, but overall it sort of was more or less okay before it went completely off the rails when basically my reading is Zelensky refused to put up with Trump and J.D. Vance's hectoring of him, and he refused to put up with their blatant lies in some examples. And so whenever he came in and contradicted the President Trump, every time that wore away a little bit until we had the explosive scenes at the end, which were quite shocking.
Well, yeah, and let's turn to a double-page spread inside your newspaper, The Sun, Noah. They have, across the banner there, across the top, chaos as furious row erupts in the Oval Office. And President Zelensky seemed particularly upset at the idea that diplomacy was going to be such a simple solution. He was pointing out, we've done deals before with Russia and they can't be trusted.
That's right. So I think the tension really there was a turning point when J.D. Vance and Trump mentioned the idea of diplomacy, and Zelensky really couldn't hold his tongue. And his response was to sort of push the message that diplomacy actually may not work in this case because Putin cannot be trusted. And of course, he's absolutely right. Putin cannot be trusted. But that just didn't fly with either Trump or J.D. Vance. And they ended up really sparking this even more heated row, accusing Zelensky of not being grateful enough despite the, piles of evidence of so much gratitude coming from not just Zelensky himself, but really all the Ukrainians, the opposition members, Zelensky's own servants of the People Party and the public. So it was a very grim spectacle all round.
And Harry Cole, political editor of The Sun, gives his analysis in the bottom right-hand corner there. He calls it a sorry spectacle. Yes. And the suggestion that those around Donald Trump worry that he's bitten off more than he can chew on this?
Yeah, so Harry's actually in Washington, D.C. now. He's spoken to a lot of people sort of around the president, some really strong sources from all sides. And I think, how can we forget when, before Donald Trump was elected, he made this big promise, I can solve the war, I can end the war in 24 hours. Well, it's been 6 weeks now, and if anything, we're moving further away from a deal than closer towards one. And we know that Trump, he wants to win a Nobel Peace Prize. He is very much a man who wants to do what he promises. And so to be this far away from that sort of 24-hour threshold, he is obviously getting frustrated. And I think we really saw that manifest in the Oval Office yesterday.
Yeah, and the suggestion that he's making is not just about relations with Ukraine, but also suggesting that might be harder to bring to the table as
Indeed.
Well. Let's move on to The Guardian, Stefan, and once again, these extraordinary pictures of those explosive scenes, which we just haven't seen before in the White House, in the Oval Office, or diplomacy on television like this, have we? But The Guardian, obviously, a lot of different elements to this, but they also do try to look ahead to what happens next. We've got this defence summit in London tomorrow, hosted by Keir Starmer, which has taken on so much greater significance after last night.
It absolutely has. It's a summit where Zelensky will be there, Olaf Scholz from Germany, Emmanuel Macron from France, Giorgia Meloni from Italy, and they're all going to have to get together and do a two-track approach. I mean, the first thing they're going to have to do is diffuse this massive row and find a way for Zelensky and Trump to work together and have some sort of working relationship, because right now it's utterly broken, and it's right now at a point where you have people on Fox News like Lindsey Graham, a US Senator very close to Donald Trump, saying that Zelensky maybe should go. I mean, this is quite an extraordinary thing. And so that relationship needs to be mended immediately. And then the second thing they need to do is they need to get together and work out how the European nations can make sure they have a seat at any table for any negotiations that are ongoing between Ukraine and Russia, and make sure that Europe really does start to take these lessons seriously and look at what happened yesterday and see it as a complete change of the Western alliance as we know it.
OK, yeah, so many questions and so many eyeballs on that summit tomorrow. We're out of time, but really lovely to have your company this morning. Thanks so much.
Thank you.